The cargo freighter drifted through the debris field, like a wounded animal seeking shelter. Marcus Webb gripped the control yoke with white knuckles, his eyes scanning the viewport for any sign of the raider ships that had taken his daughter 3 months ago. Every lead had gone cold. Every whisper in the underground markets had led nowhere. But he refused to stop searching. The distress beacon chirped on his scanner, faint but persistent. Marcus hesitated. He had no time for distractions. Emma was out there somewhere, alone and terrified, and every second he wasted was another second. She remained lost in the vastness of space. His jaw clenched as he moved to silence the alert. The beacon pulsed again, more urgent this time. Something in that rhythm spoke of desperation, of a final plea before darkness claimed its sender. Marcus cursed under his breath and adjusted his course toward the signal. 5 minutes, he told himself. 5 minutes to check, then back to the hunt dot. The source materialized through the cosmic dust. A small escape pod, battered and bleeding atmosphere from a dozen punctures. Marcus maneuvered his freighter alongside it and extended the docking clamp. The pod shuddered as it connected, and he made his way to the airlock with a rescue kit slung over his shoulder. The hatch opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Inside the cramped pod, surrounded by failing life support systems, lay a child. But not a human child. Her skin held a faint blue luminescence, and her eyes were too large, too dark, reflecting the emergency lights like pools of liquid night. She wore the tattered remains of what might have been a formal garment, now stained with something that could have been blood, but shimmered with an otherworldly quality. She looked up at him with those impossible eyes, and Marcus saw Emma, not literally, but in the terror, in the desperate hope that maybe, finally, someone had come to help. The alien girl reached out one trembling hand. Marcus gathered her into his arms and carried her to his medical bay. She was light, far lighter than a human child of similar size. Her breathing came in rapid, shallow gasps. The medical scanner flickered over her body, unable to properly read her alien physiology. He did what he could with basic first aid, sealing the cuts on her arms and checking for broken bones. The girl whispered something in a language that sounded like wind through crystal chimes. Marcus shook his head, pulling up his universal translator. The device was old and unreliable, but after a moment of processing, it crackled to life. They killed everyone. The translation came through mechanical and flat, robbing the words of their emotion, but not their weight. My family, my guards, everyone on the diplomatic vessel. Pirates? Marcus asked. The girl nodded weakly. They wanted the tribute. When Father refused, they fired on us. I was pushed into the escape pod. I do not even know if they survived long enough to see me launch. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Another child ripped from her family by the lawless vultures that plagued the frontier. Another father who would search endlessly, just as he searched for Emma. He pulled a blanket over the shivering girl and sat beside her. What's your name? He asked. Lyra. The translator responded after she spoke. Daughter of the Kelvin ambassador. And you, Marcus? Just Marcus. Lyra's eyes studied him with an intelligence that seemed too old for her apparent age. You search for someone. I can see it in your face. The same look my father wore when my brother was lost to the plague. Marcus turned away, checking the medical readouts to avoid her gaze. My daughter. Taken by raiders from our colony station. I've been following their trail for months. Then you should go, Lyra said quietly. I am grateful for the rescue, but I will not be the reason you lose your chance to find her. The scanner beeped. Marcus frowned at the display. Lyra's core temperature was dropping, despite the heated blanket. Whatever biology kept her species alive, his freighter was not equipped to handle it properly. She needed specialized care, and soon. There's a trading post 2 days from here, Marcus said. They'll have medical facilities that can help you. I'll get you there safely." Lyra's eyes dimmed slightly. 2 days. That is time you could spend following your leads. The leads will still be there in 2 days, Marcus replied, though he was not sure he believed it. In truth, every hour that passed meant Emma could be moved further away, sold to another slaver, lost in the endless black. But he could not leave this child to die alone in space. He would not become the monster he hunted. The journey to the trading post should have been routine. Marcus kept his transponder on minimal broadcast and stayed to the lesser-traveled routes. But on the second day, his scanner lit up with contact signatures. 3 ships moving in formation, their profiles matching known raider configurations. Marcus felt ice flood his veins. The same ships. The same configuration as the group that had hit his colony. He pulled up his weapon systems, pathetic as they were. A cargo freighter against 3 raider corvettes was no fight at all. It was an execution. Unidentified freighter, cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. The transmission crackled through. Comply and you will not be harmed. Marcus's hand hovered over the engine controls. If he ran, they would chase. If he fought, he would die. If he surrendered, they would find Lyra and probably kill them both. He glanced at the medical bay monitor. The alien girl watched the screen with those dark, knowing eyes. Then Marcus saw it. A dense asteroid cluster 200,000 kilometers to starboard. It was a death trap, a maze of spinning rock and unpredictable gravitational shear. But he had grown up piloting ice haulers through the Saturn rings. If he could navigate that maze, he might lose them. He slammed the throttle forward. The freighter lurched, alarms screaming as he pushed the engines beyond their rated capacity. The raiders gave chase immediately, their faster ships closing the distance. Weapons fire lanced past his hull, and Marcus threw the freighter into a spinning dive toward. The asteroid field. The first rocks whipped past his viewports at suicidal speeds. Marcus threaded between them by instinct, his hands dancing across the controls. Behind him, the raiders followed, but they were not pilots. They were killers who relied on speed and firepower, not skill. The first raider clipped an asteroid and spun off into the void, its hull crumpling. The second tried to match Marcus's maneuver around a tumbling planetoid and instead collided with it head-on. The third raider was smarter. It hung back, waiting for Marcus to make a mistake. And Marcus knew he would. The freighter was not built for this kind of flying. Metal groaned and systems flickered. It was only a matter of time before something critical failed. An alarm shrieked. The port engine was overheating, 30 seconds from catastrophic failure. Marcus had one chance. He spotted a gap between 2 massive asteroids, barely wider than his ship. Beyond it, if his calculations were correct, lay the far side of the field and open space. He aimed for the gap and fired every maneuvering thruster at once. The freighter scraped through with centimeters to spare, trailing sparks and fragments of hull plating. The raider tried to follow and realized too late that the gap was closing as the asteroids rotated. The ship caught between them, crushed like an insect. Marcus did not celebrate. He killed the failing engine and limped toward the trading post on emergency power. Behind him, the asteroid field spun on. Indifferent to the violence it had witnessed, the trading post medical center was a chaotic place, filled with beings from 100 worlds. Marcus carried Lyra through the crowded corridors until he found someone who could help. A doctor with 4 arms and compound eyes took one look at Lyra's readings and immediately began treatment. Within an hour, the girl's vital signs stabilized. Marcus sat in the waiting area, exhaustion finally catching up to him. He had lost 2 days, 2 precious days that Emma was still missing. He pulled out his datapad, ready to check his contacts and resume the search. "Mr. Marcus?" The 4-armed doctor approached. Lyra is stable now, but I should inform you that she is not merely an ambassador's daughter. She is the heir to the Kelvin Unity. There will be a substantial reward for her safe return." Marcus looked up. "I don't want a reward." The doctor's compound eyes regarded him with something that might have been respect. "Nevertheless, the Kelvin government has been informed. They are dispatching a ship to retrieve her. They will be most grateful." Marcus nodded and turned to leave. He had done what he could. Now he had to find Emma before the trail went completely cold. "Wait," a small voice called out. Lyra stood in the doorway of her room, still weak but standing on her own. The gratitude of the Kelvin Unity is not an empty thing. We have resources. Intelligence networks. If your daughter is alive, we will help you find her." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Hope, painful and fierce, surged through him. He knelt down to Lyra's level. "Thank you," he whispered. The alien girl placed her hand on his shoulder. "You saved me when you had every reason to continue your search." That is the action of someone who deserves to find what he has lost. And perhaps when you find your daughter, you will understand why my people believe that kindness is never wasted. It echoes across the stars, long after we are gone. Marcus nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in his throat. Somewhere out there, Emma was waiting. And now, for the first time in months, he had allies in the search. He had saved one child. Perhaps that would be enough to help him save his own.